I'm Ellen Mary.
And I'm Michael Perry.
And he's a plant geek.
And she's a plant addict.
And this is the Plant-Based Podcast.
This is more than just a gardening podcast. We'll be exploring the world of plants from every possible angle. We'll be talking about plant-based diets, plant materials and fabrics, the well-being qualities of plants, and giving plenty of gardening tips and tricks.
So we'll be chatting worldwide to companies and individuals that are being creative with plants in new and exciting ways. From fabulous flower crowns to foliage-filled lounges.
Botanical moisturisers to bamboo clothing.
It's all here.
And it's all made of plants.
Suttons, suppliers of gardening products since 1806, sponsor the Plant-Based Podcast. Visit them online at suttons.co.uk.
So we're in a gym right now, aren't we, Michael?
We're going to get muscly.
Well, yeah. we probably
or more muscly.
Probably not today, but if you like. We're actually sitting on a boxing ring right now with Paul Kerton, known as Hench Herbivore. And actually, when we walked into the gym, someone told us to call you Mad Dog.
That guy's very silly. Don't just ignore him.
Mad Dog or PK. So, what would you like us to call you?
Paul.
Paul will do. Okay. So, Paul, you are a gym instructor, personal trainer, and vegan.
Yeah.
And I wonder if we need to go all the way back to the beginning, don't we?
Definitely.
To where this started.
Yeah. Did you used to be like me, skinny?
Yeah.
What were you like when you were a kid?
As a lad, I was very skinny, very timid, didn't know how to stand up for myself. Went to school, found out what bullying feels like, and thought, I don't want any more of this.
Yeah.
So I started lifting weights, started doing martial arts.
At what age was that?
15 when I started doing all that sort of thing. And went a bit over the top with it, got a bit huge, ended up working the doors, become the head doorman at several clubs and things. Getting a bit of a reputation, if I'm honest, which I've kind of gone 180, and now I preach about love and compassion.
That's cool.
So, yeah, a bit of a turnaround.
What happened for you to turn around? Was there a point in your life where you just thought, okay, this has to stop?
Yeah, veganism.
Okay.
I went vegan for my health, because I saw the more animals we eat, the quicker we get heart disease, cancer, diabetes, etc. Accidentally researching recipes and things for this new way of eating, certain websites, I saw what we do to animals.
Right.
And it devastated me, and I couldn't believe that I was part of that. And I went vegan, and then I thought, if I don't want to harm a chicken I've never met, why do I want to harm my fellow man? And someone's given me a hard time, maybe they've had a bad day, maybe they are suffering, and their suffering's spilling over, and I can either add to that, or perhaps I can step out of my ego, forgive them, hopefully they don't pass it on to the next person. And I believe veganism can heal the world. I really do. If it can change me, it can change anyone.
And how long have you been on a vegan diet now?
7 years, just
7
over.
years.
Maybe 7.5 actually. So as I said earlier, my muscles now are completely made out of plants. It takes 7 years to...
That is fascinating.
Yeah.
So your muscles are made out of plants now, and it takes so many years to regenerate, doesn't it?
7 years for muscle cells, 10 years to regenerate your skeleton.
Yeah.
So I've got 3 years worth of dairy in my skeleton still to come out, and then I'll be completely made out of plants.
I'm
amazing.
sitting next to a human plant.
But I can't imagine, like, from time to time, I haven't eaten meat for a week, or perhaps, I've tried to up the plant-based content in my diet, but it's kind of difficult, and then you go back to it, you perhaps pick up some fast food somewhere, and then you're back to square one. But it must have been really difficult in the beginning for you.
You'd think so.
Yeah? Or you just switched?
It was the easiest thing.
You just pressed on the button.
I was so sick,
there.
I would eat 10 kilos of chicken a week.
Was this
I would
because you
drink
were working
42
out?
pints of milk.
I guess because you were the extreme, because you were a traditional bodybuilder who is eating a lot of meat, a lot of protein, a lot of those animal products.
Yeah.
So you then just a complete...
I was sick of it. I worried. I thought historically, yes, we have been eating animals. Is there a nutrient in animals that we can't get from plants? So I went, by way of calories, I went 98% plant foods, and I kept in like a couple of grass-fed steaks, 3 servings of wild salmon, which I've always hated fish, but I thought, do we need the DHA from the fish, the omega-3? Did some research, found out that virtually every single essential nutrient in animal products is only there because the animals ate the plant, or the animal ate an animal that ate the plant. It all comes from plants. A big, huge, bull, they were a lot bigger than me. they're made completely out of plants.
This is very true. Why did we not consider that? Actually, you're eating the meat, but that bull is basically.
It always feels
plants.
like when you talk about a plant-based diet, it feels like you're going to have a plate of vegetables, and that won't fill me up. What's your answer to that? Are your meals just a plate of vegetables?
So I'm also a nutritionist. When I look at a plate, we used to say meat, tea, veg, dairy because you need the calcium. And now I look at a plate and I think the legume, so chickpeas, peas, lentils, all the different beans, whole grain. Half the plate should be different coloured vegetables. Emphasise leafy greens for the vitamin K and all of the minerals. Incidentally, cows, where do they get the calcium? Comes from grass, which is a long, thin leaf. Little nuts and seeds because we need some essential fats.
Okay.
All the herbs and spices you can throw at it because they really are superfoods, and a bit of fruit. And from what I've seen, this diet prevents, treats, and reverses up to 14 of the 15 leading killer diseases of the West. It reverses heart disease, killer number 1. It reverses a couple of other diseases. It treats most of the diseases and prevents up to 14 of the 15 leading. This is why I went vegan.
I'm beyond fascinated because I don't eat meat, so I've taken that first step, if you like, not to eat meat, which has now been nearly 3 years. And I have been eating fish occasionally throughout those years because I don't think I've got my diet balanced enough, and so I feel, do I need the fish in order to provide me with certain vitamins and minerals and stuff? But excuse me, with a plant-based diet you are genuinely getting everything that you need, aren't you, from that? Do you take any supplements?
So to put it into context, basically we evolved in the tropics with the sun on us year round. We didn't used to sterilise everything. So what we call vitamin D, it's actually 1,2,5-dihydroxycalciferol. It's a hormone that we make, so it's not a vitamin. That was a lie started by the dairy industry, by the way. But vitamin D, if we're not getting the sun, we need to supplement. Everyone needs to do that. The average omnivorous eater eats about 130 IUs a day. The best available science says we need about 2,000 a day on average, so they're woefully underdosed. And B12 comes from bacteria, from unsterilised water, from the soil, which is now obviously really deplete unless you're in somewhere like the rainforest. And so we need to supplement that. And it's reckoned that about two-fifths of Americans are B12 deficient, while 2/5 of Americans are not vegan. So it's ubiquitous. It's everyone.
It is fascinating. I was just thinking everything that you were just saying about gardening, because obviously I was talking about plants and my love of gardening as well, is you're outside in the sunshine, so you're absorbing all that vitamin D that you really need. You're growing all of your amazing fruit and vegetables there in your lovely soil, hopefully, that you've cultivated. And, you've got all of this amazing goodness out there that you can eat, and you don't even need to put meat on the plate.
On average, so this is a Harvard study, on average, they found that vegetables contain 16 times more nutrients than meat. 16 times more.
Vegetables are sexy.
What they don't provide is saturated fat, cholesterol, trans fats, natural and artificial hormones, antibiotics. There is a list as long, well, not as long as my arm, as high as this room: heterocyclic amines, polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons. This is the stuff that's killing us. It's excess, and it's all in animal products. And don't get me wrong, we shouldn't be eating processed plant foods either. Oil, sugar, they should be avoided. But sugar in a whole food with the fibre, with the phytonutrients, that's what we should be eating. Whole foods as they come from nature, as we've been eating for the last since the year dot.
Amazing. So how do you recommend that anybody, whether you've stopped eating meat already or not, how do you start to take on that vegan approach? What do you do? Do you just make that quick change, or how does it work for people?
It can be different for different people, and obviously it was very quick for me. Some people are going to struggle a little bit, and it's taste, it's things they're used to, it's tradition, it's etc, etc. So everyone's got to find their own way. I think number one, get really educated, because we have been so lied to for so long to think that we need to eat meat for protein, drink milk for calcium.
I think the tide is changing on that, though.
It is.
Yeah. It's really much more aware of the benefits of.
Yeah, the truth is coming out. Yeah. And just to really educate yourself. So I have a YouTube channel, Hench Herbivore, where I show all the science about it, all the facts. There's documentaries, Forks Over Knives, What the Health. There's a YouTube channel and a website called nutritionfacts.org. Yeah. These guys were set up by a philanthropist. And they look at every single English language nutrition paper that comes out, every single one, something like 200,000 a year, to see who funded it. So is there the potential for bias? was it good science? So is it worth listening to? And what should we do about it?
Yeah.
And every single time it's eat whole foods, avoid animal products, avoid processed plant foods. And they're not trying to sell you anything. They just want you to be healthy.
Wow.
That's amazing. So basically, having a garden or allotment and growing all of your own fruit and vegetables and plants is
Do you grow any of your own?
I don't, sadly, no. Because I'm trying to reach the world, so you know, at the minute I'm having to be a PT and do the nutritionist thing. So that's half the week. Half the week I'm making YouTube videos. I'm doing talks around the country and podcasts, radio, TV, and etc. But I want to put all my time into reaching the most people. So you know, if I'm sort of tending to a garden,
it does take time, undoubtedly. Yeah. You get herbs on a windowsill.
We are growing herbs on a windowsill.
Okay. Well, this is a good
Your
start.
flavourings, So do you tend to go to the main supermarkets, or you would go to the grocers or the marketplace? Where do you get most of your vegetables
Typically, I hate to say it, but you know, like a larger supermarket. But that's some great places.
I guess, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just convenience. We get a delivery, and again, it's then not taking time away from my main mission. But like in Norwich, we've got Follins on the market there with the great whole like organic foods.
Okay.
But there are quite a few delivery services, aren't there? So
Yes.
All plants, I think, because we've
Oh,
mentioned
all
those
plants.
before.
Have you seen those? They're making these plant-based ready meals.
Right.
They're incredible. My friend down here at the moment, and she has a whole freezer full of them, and they're delicious. I tried a couple, and
there's never been a better time to be vegan. It is so easy if you want.
Because I guess years ago, even going out to eat, it would have been a nightmare, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
you know, there wasn't
definitely.
any
the vegetarian
vegan food.
choice was always some sad mushroom stroganoff or something.
I was a vegetarian when I was a teenager, and then I slipped into eating meat again until the past years. Really. And all I can remember eating is nut roast.
Nut roast.
Well, I don't know, probably nothing else. Nut roast, that was it. I must have been so nutrient deficient. I can't really imagine. But anyway. So now is a good time to look at veganism.
Can I ask one thing before we move on? Just about the cost in terms of household, grocery shopping bill. What difference did you notice between meat and plant-based diet? Cheaper, more expensive?
It can be either, and it just depends on what you want. It
and
can
how
be the
creative
cheapest.
you're being with the produce you've got.
It can be the cheapest diet in the world. You know, a huge sack of grains, like a sack of lentils, frozen berries, frozen spinach. It can be the cheapest diet in the world and the most nutrient dense. And yes, it's being creative. Again, those herbs and spices are key.
Yeah.
Have you got any special recipes for us?
Not particularly, but again, on my YouTube channel, I do have a playlist of recipes.
Cool.
But it's the same. It's the same. You know, fruit, veg, little legumes. But it's just a different.
You could jazz up Ellen's nut roast.
I mean, I don't want to be eating cabbage soup all day, you know.
I don't think people around you would like that either.
Oh, that's a good point. Like all of those vegetables and stuff can sometimes cause some issues.
I love. I've been in China for a few weeks, and I love kimchi.
Nice.
But of course, people around me don't like kimchi because it's really smelly when it comes out.
So we love plants. We love plants. Plants are amazing. Grow your own plants. Eat your own plants. You're going to be really fit and healthy. And next, we're going to be talking to Paul about bodybuilding and how you're getting those nutrients you need for bodybuilding and how you go about your workouts and that kind of thing.
Yeah, feeling pumped.
So Paul stroke Hench stroke PK stroke Mad Dog. I don't know what to call him.
You want us to stroke his muscle.
That's later. Isn't it? It's just so inspiring to hear him talk about how he made the lifestyle change to veganism.
You could really see the emotion in his eyes as he's explained this story. It's almost as if veganism has saved his life, almost.
Yeah.
Because he said he used to have a very, very poor way of life, and now he sees the benefits of having this plant-based diet. And of course, he's also become a bodybuilder with 100% plant muscle.
Isn't that incredible?
Amazing story.
He is a walking, talking plant. I love that. So it's interesting now then to hear about how he uses his plant-based diet in conjunction with his bodybuilding, isn't it?
Absolutely, because we're so conditioned to kind of what is or isn't an energy food, but perhaps they're not at all what you realise. So, Mr. Hench, we're here in the boxing ring, and we want you to tell us how you built up your muscle with this purely plant-based diet.
You know, I think where most people go wrong, they eat the same volume of food they ate pre-veganism.
Okay.
And, you know, animal products, processed plant foods are so calorically dense, so their stomach gets full in a short time. Now, if we're putting in lots of vegetables, you know, fruits, lower calorie, higher water, higher fibre, if we eat the same volume, we're under eating calories. So I think that's where the stereotype of the skinny kind of vegan comes from.
Okay.
Just a lack of education.
So do you mean we can eat more if we're vegan?
You get to eat so much.
So we could like eat all day?
In New Zealand, at the end of 2016, was the Broad study.
Yeah.
They got people to eat unrestricted amounts of this food. They were eating as much as they wanted. On average, they lost a pound of fat every week. And their blood pressure, cholesterol and triglyceride levels all came down to within the healthy ranges. It's huge.
That's just, I mean, it is.
But doesn't that sounds great, but doesn't that become expensive? Because then you're kind of eating that much more. And I think some people look at food in a very different way. They're kind of eating to survive. They're not eating for pleasure or any kind of aim. So they're just grabbing something on the go. And, you know, we've just said to ourselves that the food in the UK that you get on the train network or just kind of on the go is just awful. So it's so tempting just to grab that and fill your belly for longer and not really then follow that plant-based diet. So how can people really make that change and afford to make that change as well?
As I said earlier, it's the cheapest food in the world, you know, it really is. Like rice, you know, frozen berries, frozen spinach, lentils, dried. It's the cheapest food in the world. It's not so easy on the go, particularly if you want to be healthful. So I prepare my food and I take it with me. As a bodybuilder, I'm used to that.
That takes time though, doesn't it?
A little bit, not as much as you'd think. And I'd say, if you're going to eat this junk from a train, you know, your life expectancy, your ability to be functional, you know, we're living longer, but we're living less functional years. And I say, what importance do you put on your health? And have you got 10 minutes? For the sake of your health?
Well, absolutely.
When you put it like that, it does make a lot of sense.
It does, doesn't it? So as a personal trainer, you're obviously in the gym a great deal, working out. We can see that you work out.
Well, thank you.
She wants to touch your muscles.
I didn't say that, but
Am I going, Bed?
sorry, we're embarrassing you. Sorry. So obviously you are working out a great deal. So you've got to put all of the right nutrients in your body in order to sustain that level of workout. So how do you do that? What do you eat? You know, what do you eat in a day? And then when you work out, what do you eat to work out and to recover? All of those kind of things.
It's kind of the same foods over and over in terms of how I make up like a plate of food. So as I said earlier, I'll pick a legume, a whole grain, a range of different coloured veg. Did we do this on the podcast earlier, or was this what we were saying?
This is what we were saying in between. Yeah.
Oh, good, I can carry on.
Yeah, carry
Sorry,
on.
I'm messing up.
Oh, we've got an edit problem now.
Sorry, folks at home.
It's okay.
So,
It's cool.
so I've got my legume, my whole grains, my vegetables, a little fruit, a little nuts and seeds, little herbs and spices. Now that may come as a curry, like as a wrap, all different ways, but I'm basically basing it around those foods.
Yeah.
Breakfast typically will be like a porridge or a smoothie, you know.
I had a smoothie this morning. See, now I can work out.
She made me have a smoothie as well.
Yeah, brilliant. So,
I feel alive.
So, like, a base would be like bananas, something like that, or maybe some dates, like real sweet, like give it a nice flavour. Some berries, perhaps, most antioxidant-rich fruits. Little greens, which you won't notice in there. Flax and chia seeds are huge. They are so helpful. They're high in omega-3, low in omega-6.
And they're great fibre, aren't they, for moving everything
great
through.
Fibre. For a male, the lignan content in flax seeds is like 100 times any other foods. The men with the most lignans in their prostate fluid had the least prostate cancer. Every other 85-year-old, whether it kills them or not, will have prostate cancer.
Yeah.
But again, this is a way to avoid that.
That's incredible.
You can put some white beans in there. Again, you wouldn't notice. I use a couple of scoops of protein powder just because I'm larger than your average bear. But to be fair, you could do it with more beans. And people worry about the beans and things we were talking earlier about the gassing. Yeah. What you will find, we will basically change your gut microbiome. Depending on what you eat, you're either Prevotella dominant or Bacteroides dominant. Bacteroides eat, animal proteins, fats, sugar, alcohol, all the junk. The good strains, the Prevotella, they eat whole plant foods. They eat fibre and resistant such. Once we preferentially feed those, they'll bloom. They won't have the Bacteroides, and they process the plant foods. We won't get the stomach upset. And particularly if you've not got meat in the way, slow in the process. Whole plant foods take 12 to 16 hours to go through the human body.
Right.
Omnivorous eaters on average 4 to 5 days because of the lack of fibre, and so these things are fermenting behind the meat, and now we're getting the flatulence and the pain and the dysbiosis.
Wow, plants are basically amazing in all respects. So, so you've had your porridge, you come and work out. What do you do then? Do you eat after a workout? Or?
Yeah, so I eat 4 times a day just for convenience. I'm trying to eat a high volume of food, and as I say, it's the same types of food. However, I'll be cooking them different, steam frying rather than using oil. I use water.
Right.
As I say, curries, chilies, soups, casseroles, all this sort. You can make, you can bake burgers and falafel with legumes and whole grains and vegetables. They're very delicious.
And do you avoid energy slumps? And how do you avoid those? Like, what would you drink or eat for energy? Like, because a lot of us rely on coffee. Do you rely on coffee, or are you?
To be honest, like I do use a bit of caffeine, and it's my kind of bugbear, and it's not. There's mixed science, but I think really it is a neurotoxin, so basically it's toxic to our body, so we heat up to try and sweat out, our heart rate goes up, we're trying to pump it around and pump it out of our body. You know, if you're having like teas and coffee, like that is a leaf, it is a bean, so there are health aspects, and so it's a bit mixed, but I say for the masses, try to get off it. If you're sleeping well, that's key, sleeping well, and the food I'm eating, you know, it's all the best energy food, is clean. I've got so much more energy as a vegan than versus an omnivorous eater.
That's incredible.
I remember seeing a documentary once, and they did this test where there were these cyclists, and they each had a different kind of dose beforehand, and some of them had energy drinks such as Red Bull, and one of them had a natural drink that was just beetroot juice.
Yes.
And they were actually the quickest.
Is that right?
Had the most energy, yeah.
There's a lot of science on beetroot juice now. So the latest science says around 140 mils, 2 to 3 hours pre-workout, and it's a vasodilator, so the blood's getting around the oxygen, the nutrients. We're getting rid of the waste products easier. Beetroot juice and also dark leafy greens, they contain these nitrates, which we make into nitric oxide.
So you just have to watch out for red pea when you have
red
pea.
You will have wee. But that's, you know, I can live with that.
So don't forget when you've gone for a wee,
and then go to the doctors and say, how?
So I guess in terms of like muscle building, we always think, oh, you need to eat a lot of protein in order to build muscle, which is obviously meat, eggs, fish. Yeah. But for you, the protein you see as, what is that, pulses, beans?
It's everything
what
I eat.
What would be on your list of
It's everything I eat. Like fruit is on average 5% protein. And when you're eating a huge volume, it all adds up. But as you say, legumes, number one, particularly lentils, they're the most protein rich. Whole grains, I like quinoa, it's like 14 grams of protein per 100 grams by weight. So it's very easy.
And some of those are higher than meat?
By weight, probably not by weight.
Okay, but nearly.
So you have to eat a little bit more. Okay. Who doesn't like eating?
You had a vegan meal last night at mine, by the way. We had chickpea curry. That was a vegan meal.
I'm not a vegan by any means, but you know, I don't need to eat meat, and if it's not on the menu, I'm not going to cry or kind of crave it, for example. But I haven't made a move to be completely not vegan because I do travel a lot, and it's quite hard because you have to eat sometimes what's in front of you. Otherwise,
what I will say is I travel a lot now, like speaking at all the meetings.
How'd you get on then?
Fine.
You're taking a packed lunch though.
I do take stuff, but oftentimes I can't. It doesn't keep long enough. Like if I'm at a festival for the weekend, etc. Yeah. But it's blowing up. It's never been a better time to be doing this.
I think that's true. That's like you said, it's the timing, isn't it? Actually, at some of the festivals this year that I've been to, and including some of the RHS shows, there was vegan food there. There was I can't remember what it was called, but it was they were falafel wraps or something. But it was vegan.
I think the only food they provided was vegan, and some of the older institute visitors were a little bit like, what?
A bit freaked out.
It was
quite, what's this mean?
It was quite a moment.
People make me laugh and they say, oh, I couldn't eat vegan food, and I'm like, well, you just eat meat and cheese. Like you're eating vegan food. You know, it's probably most of what you eat.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? So basically, plant food powers you and your muscles, and you are going to be a walking, talking, living plant.
Yeah.
In 3 years. In 3 years.
Just like the T-shirt says, plant-based gains.
Yeah.
And he really has gained.
He has gained. So, thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
It's really, really interesting to think.
I can just see that there's lots of emotion in you that it really has changed your life. And this new outlook has really done the world of good to you.
But all based on plants.
All based on plants.
And, you know, for us doing this podcast especially, that's so fantastic because our love of plants is, you know, visual perhaps, and the well-being benefits of, you know, gardening and all of those kind of things. But to think that actually by eating them and solely eating them, you know, you're doing yourself so much good in so many ways. I almost want to be vegan purely so I can be a walking, talking plant.
I think we definitely should look into it, and we need to come and do some plant-based workouts as well.
Yeah, I think we're going to come and do some workouts with people. We are. But it's the Mad Dog nickname that's worrying me.
I've got one condition. We're only going to come here if you get some plants in the gym.
Yeah.
Plant-based workouts in the gym. There's no plants anywhere.
It's terrible.
And it's so well lit as well.
There were so many, but I keep eating them.
Thank you so much. Where can listeners find you online? Website?
So I'm all over the shop at henchherbivore.com, Hench Herbivore on YouTube, and also Instagram, Facebook.
Cool. It's been a real pleasure and very inspiring, and it's awesome to see that you've, you know, changed your life in that way, and now you're transferring that on and inspiring other people. Ace. Thank you.
Super. Thank you,
very
Hench.
much. Nice to meet you.
Let's gossip. Let's gossip.
Okay.
I love a bit of gossip.
Cool. I don't mind that starting. Oh, no, we got to leave it. Otherwise we'll be here forever. Yeah, this is the part of the show where we do it. Is that too informal? I don't know.
Is that too informal? Had you not said that, it would have been perfect.
Well, let's just leave it in and continue. Continue, Ellen. Okay, so this is the part of the show where we have a little bit of a gossip and we try and tie in that gossip to the subject that we've talked about in the podcast. So this week, it's a biggie and it's a controversial one, and it's veganism and the whole world of vegans and what the outside world thinks of them, what vegans think of the outside world, and all of that. And I'm almost a little bit nervous with this one.
Are you?
Yeah,
you don't look it.
Because I'm sweating by your radiator here.
Oh, I'm really sorry about that.
So...
You've got the meat sweats.
How do we... If there was ever a reason to go vegan. So how do we tackle this one? Because it can be controversial, and there's more and more, you know, incidents that happen. The uproar over the vegan sausage roll at Greggs, for example.
I know.
Why?
That's a real tricky one for Greggs, actually, because there were many people complaining that places like Greggs do not cater for vegans. And then they catered for vegans with the vegan sausage roll, and there was a huge backlash about why would a vegan want to eat something that's like meat? Isn't the point not to eat meat? But I found through looking at social media and the comments and responses that actually the majority of vegans were really thankful that there was this vegan sausage roll and thought it was a good step forward. But it was people who ate meat who were saying, oh, hold on a minute. How
we don't want you to be like us.
Yeah, but you're eating something that's like meat. But for me personally, I don't eat meat, so I think it's a great step forward. I would love to go in Greggs with my husband. He can get himself a sausage roll. I can have a vegan sausage roll.
I just don't know why carnivores and vegans are very them and us.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Why can it not just be a little bit kind of in the middle, bit of a blend? Like, why is there this big divide, really? It just seems really crazy. And also, you know, how vegans are always trying to convince carnivores not to eat meat, and also how carnivores are trying to push bacon under a vegan's nose. Why can't we just live and let live? I don't know. Is it the age of social media and how the media has such a part to play in drama now as well? I don't know.
I don't know. I think that we should all be able to make our own choices. I don't eat meat, as I keep saying, but my husband does. So I'm not trying to force him not to eat meat. It's a choice that you make, whether that's an ethics choice or perhaps it's for dietary reasons. Yeah. But a vegan diet is proven to be ultra healthy because you are eating a diet based on plants.
It is, but of course, be healthy and try and encourage other people, but you can only encourage them so much.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like encouraging people to give up smoking. They've then got the choice if they do or not, but you can't keep on at them because it's their choice.
It is a choice. I think for anyone who is a vegan due to ethics, it it's kind of hard to understand why anyone would eat meat, because that's an animal, it's alive, it has feelings, it has a brain, they have emotions, and that's quite difficult. That's why I don't eat meat, because I feel kind of quite weird about eating something else that was alive on our planet.
I mean, I care about animals, but I'm not, I'm not a vegan, I'm not a vegetarian. I do enjoy eating meat, and to some degree I also appreciate that is part of the food chain, which, probably, might make me sound disgusting to some, or, that's a little bit controversial, but it is part of that natural food chain. And of course, we were sitting here last night and saying, we eat the chicken, but the chicken eats something else as well that might be an animal. So
I think that
is that
the argument for on the other side of that is that as we've evolved, we don't have to eat meat to live, and we understand animals better now, and we have access to other kinds of food, and also not eating meat. So agriculture contributes to the environment and gases and emissions, and so cutting down on meat at least could potentially save climate change, or at least contribute to a positive effect on it. So there's that element of veganism as well. But there was something I was reading very recently, that if everybody cut their meat intake by 80%, we could reverse climate change.
I mean, I would be very, I don't eat that much meat, to be honest, but I really haven't taken that step of being completely vegan or plant-based, so I am still eating meat a fair bit. But interestingly, when I was a kid, I was a vegetarian.
And what made you eat meat again?
It was obviously, wanting to be kind to the animals, but also when you're a kid and you've got meat that has funny bits in, kind of gristly bits like that, that was probably what turned me off. But it was the animals as well. And then when I turned 21, there was bacon. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And somehow then I started eating meat again. But, I really... it's difficult because there's always so many different opinions flying around these days.
Yeah.
And social media doesn't help. And I feel like the media gets more and more kind of circus-like a little bit.
It does,
What the information is getting notoriously hard to find the right information on any subject because everything's so skewed.
You will find what you are looking for, basically. You will find the answer
that matches
you
what you want to think at the time. Yeah.
For me, I grow my own. So using all of that lovely fresh vegetables and fruit that I grow is important to me. So that's part of what I do, So I grow it, I eat it, I know it's organic, I know it's good for me. I feel healthier because I don't eat meat. Part of that is because you're just basically eating more plants, So I think even as a meat eater, incorporating more plants into your diet can only be a good thing because it's super healthy for you.
And some of the bigger brands are really seeing this now. I mean, Marks and Spencer's brought out their plant kitchen a couple of months back, which is doing quite well. And it's interesting that suddenly you've got these vegetarian and vegan meals that are mainstream.
Yeah.
Like when I was a vegetarian when I was a kid, it was so hard to find things to eat.
It was all nut roast when I was a kid.
But I love nut roast, but of course not every day.
Exactly. So there's so many options now, restaurants, cafes, supermarkets, there's so much out there. So it is super good to be able to have the choice.
Definitely.
And that's what's really important. And for me, growing plants, eating plants, being with plants is what it is all about. So.
Yeah, I just wish it wasn't so them and us.
Agreed.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
Live and let live. Everyone's got a different opinion, and you don't have to try and change everyone else's opinion all the time or argue back. Let's have a little bit more harmony.
The Plant-Based Podcast is sponsored by Suttons, suppliers of gardeners' favourite products since 1806. Unsurprisingly, Suttons now have everything you need for your outside space. Award-winning flower and vegetable plants, garden furniture and equipment, plus gifts for gardeners. Visit them online at suttons.co.uk.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Plant-Based Podcast.
Have a browse of the rest of the library or hop on over to the website, which is theplantbasedpodcast.net.
You'll also find our social media links. Please connect with us and let us know about any plant-based projects that you think we should be covering on the show.
And make sure you subscribe to our podcast so you'll be the first to hear the next episode. We're releasing once a fortnight. So until next time, enjoy the world of plants.